Today we're in Void Rift Hard, we're doing phase 1 of 3, this is the Shadowkeeper, so we're going to do the fights up to the boss and the boss fight. We're not going to do all the fights in between, okay? Right, let's jump into it. Hello and welcome, I'm Mystical, this is Mystical Gaming, we're back into Watcher of Realms, and I need to get Void Rift Hard done because otherwise I can't go on to Nightmare, and it's starting to drag on now, and I'm feeling that I'm well beyond doing this and I should have done it ages ago, so we're going to smash through this and get this done. Like I say, we're only doing the fights that get us to the boss and the boss fight, we're not doing all the bits in between. Now the reasoning for that, and for this video, is I'll make a couple of apologies. Firstly, my face and what I'm saying on the screen is not going to match this because I forgot to press record on the mic, so sorry about that, but I do take myself off for the boss fights anyway, or for the fights, so you won't see me there anyway, so it won't make any difference. And the other reason is we're only doing the fights in between because I made a bit of an error doing some of the fights. I normally take myself off the screen, but what I actually did was this, and as you can see I took away the fight and left myself on the screen. I really do need to set up my second screen, I suppose. That's my own error. Right, so apologies for that. So right, let's jump into it. Okay, so firstly what I want in my team for this first fight is I want a tanky tank. A proper tank that's there for tanking, sustaining and healing. I then want a tanky fighter, so I'm using Abomination and he's going to work quite well. He's built with a lot of sustain, HP, defense, that sort of stuff, so he'll be okay there. I then really want Settrap. If you haven't got him, another archer will do absolutely fine. And then I want ranged fighter as well. I want a ranged fighter. After that, I want a healer, and then I want 2 magic damage dealers. So take what you like, really. And then the last spot really is up for grabs, anyone you like. Whoever you feel is missing. I've gone with another ranged fighter, I think, but we'll see how the fight pans out. This should be alright. So that is the essential parts of the team and what you need to be able to do it. Okay, right, let's jump into the fight and see where we're placing them. Why I like Setram will become obvious when we get into the fight. So the first thing I put down is I've got my my Lord Tank Cyrus, so I place him down. If you've got him, use him, he's absolutely brilliant, but he does cost a lot, but essentially any old tank will do. So we place him down and he's going to start tanking up the mob, and that's all good. The next one is the mobs coming down, so we can place more of a fighter type tank here because they're not going to take as much damage. So that lane just above our tanky tank is the reason the damage can come over, so we want a proper tank there. Next down we're placing our healer. We want them healed up because they are starting to take damage, so let's keep them healed up. Now next is Setram. Look at the range of him. The range is so good, it goes over and into that lane where they can be coming out. That's why I love him. He's absolutely brilliant. If you've got something with enough range like that, absolutely brilliant. It will come in helpful. Now I'm using Valkyria next as my fighter coming down. It's not ideal because she's doing magic damage as opposed to physical damage, but again her range clips into that other. Here we go, there's a mob coming in at the top. We can see we can take him out before he walks all the way around. It is just ideal. If you've got that extra range, feel free to use it. It's not a necessity because that's why you've got your tanky tank there, because he's going to soak up the damage for you. Now next, on here we've got an AoE and I've got a single target. Okay, these are the 2 mages I've got. And then I put my army fighter just for shits and giggles, who did nothing, he just promptly died. But coming down that row are shielded skeletons, so they're going to be susceptible not to physical but to magical damage. So we just want our 2 mages up there just to take the edge off them, so our fighters down towards the goal can actually just finish them off. There isn't much to finish off, most of them are dead anyway. We're just taking away their ability to overrun us down at the bottom, and that is essentially it. That is the fight. It is nice and easy. I am somewhat overpowered for this, so I am sorry about that, but the concept of how you achieve this doesn't change. Now you can see our 2 mages are taking no damage. We don't need to worry about them, so if you're short on something, feel free to take another mage and put another mage up there. If you feel that your fighter is dying, because your fighter may take damage being down there, then take another fighter that you can rotate into that position. Now again, that's the same with Setram. If your Setram or your archer is taking damage, then feel free to swap someone else in there. You've got that spare slot to use. Go ahead and use it and take whoever you want. Okay, right, that's the first major fight out the way. Now, next bit we come up to, right, we're going to skip this. You should be able to do this. You know what you're doing here and you know your team. Okay, so if we've got ourselves here, we're now going into the worst fight in this phase. I think this is actually harder than the boss fight anyway, so let's jump into this and get this over with. So let's jump in and look at the team then. Right, I've gone for a tanky fighter and a spare fighter, but we'll come on to that later. And then our healers, I've gone for 3. I've taken Midan. Midan is very good here. They put like an anti-healing debuff on you, so she's ideal. And then for the other healers, I've gone for Hollow and Vortex. Then after that, I've gone for archers. Now, no one here really takes magical damage, so you're better off just sticking with the physical side of stuff and piercers. So that's your damage requirement, really. Now, I've gone with Setram, because he does some really quick fast damage and then moves on to the next target, and that comes in quite clutch. Also Razak, he does like a nice AoE that does physical damage, so he comes in handy as well. And then I've got Maul because, well, why wouldn't you take a Maul? Everyone should have one, and he is absolutely awesome. So that's essentially the team. And I've taken Wrath as well, but Wrath's more or less a sort of flex spot. Put in there who you like, really. And this is, as I said before, I think this is the worst fight here. Right, here we go then. Let's get this over and done with. The last time I'll ever have to do this, at least on hard, and then we can get it sorted on nightmare, and we can go auto from there on in. Right, so Abomination goes down. He is my tanky fighter, so he's going to do some damage. I've then got Midan to cover him off. So when he gets a debuff on him, you'll see the debuff with healing down marker above his head. We can cleanse that off, and that's why she's there, really. Now after this, I'm then sort of placing Razak down. I want to cover off these 2 spawn points that are behind us. They are, I feel, the bugbear of this fight, really. They're the worst part of it. If you can get them under control, the rest of the fight you should be able to do quite easily. So Razak clears off a couple of the mobs to stop us getting overwhelmed and them just running past the tank. And then after that, Setram goes down. Setram's there covering off those 2 spawn points as well. We've got Hollow going in because Hollow can give us some rage regen so we can get round to it quicker. We've got a Vortex going down because we take a lot of damage, and this way we can overheal ourselves, and that's essentially it. Maul goes down there mostly because he does damage, he does knockback, he freezes people, he's just good at stopping people coming at you and giving them damage as well. And he's got this long range. So here come the spawn points at the end. We've saved our ultimates on Setram. There we go, we've taken them out. If you let them walk around, they will just create chaos for you. They hit hard and they're a pain. Take control of them as soon as you can, whether that's with a Razak, whether that's with a Setram, whether that's with Hassett, anyone else, just get control of them because they will turn this fight for you. Now the rest of it is just removing the debuffs as and when Midan gets her ultimate up. When it's up, we can get rid of the debuffs on everyone and then we can continue healing through. If we get too many mobs down there, we can use Razak to clear off a lot of the mobs, and if they get too close, we can use Maul to freeze them, kill them, and push them back. So that's what everyone's role is there. Wrath's there really just as an also ran. Like I say, he's another position that you can flex in. So if you feel like you only taking care of one of the spawn points, get rid of Maul or get rid of Wrath, put someone else in there to take care of those spawn points for you. Whether you've got quickfire DPS sorting them out individually or not, that's entirely up to you. So just as it's about to finish, obviously my game tripped out on me, but luckily enough it did actually save it for me, so when it comes back on I do actually get the complete, which is nice, but otherwise it would be a complete nightmare for me. I'd probably throw my toys out my pram and storm off and sulk with my internet provider, but it's all good. So there's the victory, and I can happily move on, safe in the knowledge that I don't have to do it again. Right, next fight. Once we've got it done, collect the loot, and then it is on to the boss fight. Now I think the boss fight is easier, but that's just me. It will depend on the heroes you've got, but I essentially think it's easier. Right, let's get rid of everyone there and start building up our team. What do we want? Now we want Abomination. Do like putting Abomination in. Definitely worth fusing. I collected my first Vortex, and then my second one I used for the Abomination fusion. So that's the way round I did it. Now then we want a tank. I'm using my Lordy tank because he's brilliant, and then after that we want a healer, or a couple of healers. I'm using Hollow and I'm using Midan. Midan's good because they've got this debuff going on, and then we can cleanse that off. Right, DPS. I'm using Setram, using Calypso. They are my single target physical damage DPS. The boss has got a massive magic resistance, so make sure you're using ranged physical damage on him. Whoever you've got that's good, use them. Now we do want one mage. I'm going to put a mage in there solely because we do have some of those skeletons with shields coming on, so they've got a higher resistance to physical damage and lower to magic, so we put a magic dealer down there, and then we've got a spare slot. I'm using Arrogance. You want a fighter with range, I think is quite good because he can come across the front of where we put the tanks. Right, so the fight starts. Now the first thing we want to do is place down our tank. I say tank, it's our tanky fighter Abomination who goes down first, so he's down there. Now you need to make sure you're aware of how much everything costs. So I've placed Setram down next. He is going from facing from right to left, and he is there to DPS the boss down. Now I'm putting him down because I want his ultimate build built up. I don't have long to DPS the boss down. I want to get on it as soon as I can. I now have to get my tank down because otherwise the soul core will be available for the mobs to get out from. Just as the boss appears, Setram's ultimate is up, I can trigger that. Calypso can now go down, and she is in range to start DPSing the boss down. I am now waiting for Hollow. As soon as Hollow's available, we get her down. We want her to trigger her ultimate to get the rage regen on our 2 DPS. Now that is essentially the fight. As long as your DPS can kill that boss before it gets out down into the main field, you are all good. Down at the bottom, I'm now placing a healer. I placed down Midan down there so that she can clear off any of the debuffs and also help us to actually keep them healed and our tanks up and running. After that, I've placed down my Arrogance down at the bottom. He's just down there. He's getting healed from Midan, and he has got this range to clear across both of the fighters. Now, as you can see, I have almost missed the boss at this point. Now, he's got massive magic damage resistance, but luckily he's only got 1 or 2 health, and Morrigan does actually finish him off. I thought then RNG was going to be against me and it was going to be a wipe, but we're lucky. You can recall everyone from there that we don't use now. So Abomination has been killed, no great shakes. No, sorry, not Abomination. Arrogance has been killed, it's not a great issue, and then we can remove Setram, we can remove Calypso, and we can remove Hollow, so we can replace them towards the end of the fight just to help us out. But essentially that's the fight done. Once the boss is dead before he goes out, all should be good. I now place Arrogance back down to where he was because he'd be getting more healing this time round. There'll be less damage incoming because we've got other damage dealers now taking out the ads for us, so they won't be as much of an issue. So up behind him now comes our skeletons with the armour, with the shield, so they will be taken care of by our mage on the left hand side of the map. Now coming on the right hand side are a load more mobs, but this is alright because we've timed it with our archers or our marksmen who now get placed down. They've got their own healer Hollow, and they will just take out any of the mobs coming up. So last 3 mobs to do. We are in a very good place and we're just ticking over to get the boss done. This is much easier than that previous fight. I really dislike the previous fight. That is horrific, but the boss fight isn't that bad. As long as your DPS can take the boss down. Remember, physical damage, not magic. Check on your DPS, go to their character sheet, have a check that they are doing physical damage. That is the boss done. and that is the Soul Keeper dead. So that's that done. Our plan is to get the rest of them done this weekend. I'll actually record them properly this time and remember to take myself off the screen and actually unmute the mic. So thank you very much for your time. If you found this helpful, please leave the old thumbs up, like and subscribe. That would help me out massively. And then if you have any issues, please feel free in the comments to write something down and I will endeavour to help you out of your spot. Sometimes it might be a gear issue, you might not just have the gear or the champions to do it, but essentially I know I'm overpowered for it, but the thought process on how you do this fight will remain the same, whether you're doing hard or whether you're doing nightmare. But next week we'll be doing nightmare and we'll get that smashed out as well. Right, thanks very much for your time, happy gaming, see you in the video again soon. Cheers, goodbye.